Have you ever heard somebody say, I want to move to Central Florida? Central Florida, what is Central Florida? I think a lot of times people get Central Florida, this thought of like vacation spot. You've got Mickey Mouse and you've got Universal Studios and SeaWorld, and we've got all these attractions here. But to live here is a whole nother story. So today I want to take some time out. I want to highlight on a map for you and show you where Central Florida is and kind of go over the different areas, because Central Florida is not really just Mickey Mouse, right? It's a place where people live, they work, they have established their roots. And so when you're moving to Central Florida, it would help for you to have an idea of what areas are in this area. So let's take a look at this map. Obviously, we're in the United States view right now, but Florida is down in the southeast. We're going to zoom in here. As you can tell, as we're zooming in, Florida itself is pretty large. It's one of the largest states, and we've got what's called the Panhandle. They actually have a different time zone than us. I believe they're central, starting at some point. But then we go all the way down to the main peninsula, and Central Florida gets its name because it's central. It's right here where you see Orlando. That's kind of like our bullseye, you could say. So let me zoom in. Before I zoom in, well, I will zoom in a little bit and highlight the following. Depending on where you're at in the Central Florida area, you could be closer to the East Coast. More than likely, you're going to be closer to the East Coast than you are to the West Coast. So it's central maybe in terms of north-south, and it's kind of central east-west, but we're a little bit closer to the East Coast. So let's go ahead and zoom in. I like to, when I'm explaining to people about the area, I like to talk about Orlando being the center of a bullseye. And so we've got a lot of towns, areas that we can highlight here. So here's that big bold Orlando, and we've got East Orlando, which we can dive in there in a future video and talk just about these specific areas more in detail. But East Orlando, then we've got northern parts of Orlando. I won't say that they're Orlando, but the greater Orlando area. I'm going to slide down a little bit. So far north, we've got Sanford, Lake Mary, Altamont Springs, Wekiva Springs. Apopka is going more toward the west of the Orlando circle. I didn't hit Oviedo. So if you've ever heard of the University of Central Florida, the University of Central Florida is located somewhere around here. So Oviedo is in that area. If you go further out, Bithlo is kind of a rural area, and Christmas. Then as we go over to the west, I already kind of hit Apopka. We've got Winter Garden is a very hot spot now. They've developed very nicely there. They have a lot of new construction. They have lots of shopping there. Windermere is a hot area. Dr. Phillips, so this is all considered the west part of Orlando. Pine Hills is right here. We've got Oak Ridge. Then we get into the Kissimmee area. So Kissimmee, if you can see it on the map, is right here. The Kissimmee area, we've got Hunters Creek is a very popular place. A lot of people like to go to that area. BVL, Buenaventura Lakes, is right here. We've got Celebration, which entering into this area is the Disney, I don't know if you want to call it the corridor, but Disney's in this area. So we've got Celebration. Lake Buena Vista is popular. Let me slide down here. So working more south, of Kissimmee, we've got Four Corners. If you've ever heard of Claremont, this is going farther west of Orlando. There's Claremont. There's a whole bunch of areas here. I'll come back to this, but let me finish off Kissimmee. Davenport has been a hot area. Again, lots of development. There's lots of development throughout Central Florida, but you'll notice that a lot more development takes place on the outer rim because there's areas to develop. Orlando has become kind of saturated for the most part, and there's not much area to put new things in. So Poinciana, you'll see a lot of homes here. When we're talking about pricing, a lot of people like to look at these areas, Poinciana, Davenport. St. Cloud, which is where I reside, is east of Kissimmee. So St. Cloud is here, and as we work our way back up, the map is not showing it, so let me zoom in a little bit. You've got this area called Lake Nona. Lake Nona, again, is another hotbed. It's another hot place for properties. They've got a UCF Medical College there. They've got a lot of things that have gone up there. The master plan of development for that community is marvelous. A lot of cool places to eat, and it's growing immensely. So here's your medical city. You've got a Veterans VA hospital there, state of the art. So this is Lake Nona. The proximity to St. Cloud is here. A lot of people, because Lake Nona is so hot, the prices are hot. So the prices tend to be higher than your average market here in the Orlando area. But a lot of that spillover has come down this area called Narcoossee, which down here is part of St. Cloud also. And so this is a hotbed of construction. And then over this way, Harmony also is being built out, kind of with some of that spillover also from Lake Nona. So you've got a lot of different areas to choose from. So if you hear somebody saying, oh man, I want to move to Central Florida, or you yourself are saying, I want to move to Central Florida, it can be confusing. It can be overwhelming to figure out where to move to. Let's take a look. I'm going to zoom back out. Some of the areas that we're moving kind of away from the central point, that bullseye that I said earlier. If we look at Davenport, Poinciana, Kissimmee, St. Cloud, this is like far to the south. Then we have south of Davenport, Haines City, and you start working down I-4. So here's one of the things that I do want to highlight to you. So let's put Orlando in the center again. So Orlando's in this center. I-4 is the main artery that connects. It's considered east-west, but it kind of comes down at an angle, starting in the Daytona Beach area, and it rides all the way through Orlando, and then it goes to Tampa, and I think it extends, I'm not sure if it goes to St. Pete, but Tampa area, it'll get you all the way there. So it is east-west, but it's kind of at an angle, it's diagonal. So along that area, you have a lot of towns, Haines City, Winter Haven, Auburndale, Lakeland. So this is kind of moving away from Central Florida now. We do have Claremont. So Claremont is directly west. It covers this area between Davenport and around Winter Garden to the west of Orlando. As we go northwest, Apopka was up here. We have the areas of Mount Dora, Eustis, Leesburg. And if you've ever heard of it, the Villages is a very popular destination for people that are retirees. So this is a lot of build out also right now, especially Mount Dora, Eustis, Sanford, we already went over that. So this is your Central Florida area. Now, I did mention I-4. One of the things you want to consider when you're moving to this area, I want to highlight now how to get around. So if we take a look closer, I-4 is coming down through here. One of the things when they were building Orlando, the greater Orlando area, I believe that the growth kind of overtook the city. So what you'll find is that a lot of the toll roads, like if you go to cities, other cities that are big cities, they typically have interstate highways that there's numerous ones that will cut through the city, and then you'll have like your loop belts around the city. Here, what they wound up doing to accommodate the growth, they wound up doing a lot of toll roads. So in one way, it's kind of sucks that if you want to get around and get places quickly or more quickly, then you have to hop on usually one of the toll roads. So here's Orlando. One of the main ones is 408. You can see the sign right here. Zoom in a little bit more. So the 408 kind of goes east-west, and it runs into I-4. Then you have the turnpike. If I can zoom, well, slide up. The turnpike will run you all the way south as far as, goodness, to Miami. I'm pretty sure it goes all the way down to Miami. So your turnpike is cutting this way, south, all the way down to Miami. It also goes north. It cuts up toward the villages, and it will cut and end into 75. So here's another interstate that runs our state, north and south. 75 goes all the way down, that runs north to out of the state. And then we have on the east coast, 95 runs right along the coast down to Miami. I'm not sure if that runs down to the Keys, not my area of specialty. So let's come back to Orlando. So we highlighted now that I-4 cuts across like this, across the city. We highlighted that the turnpike kind of comes from, it runs through St. Cloud and it runs up. Here's Meadow Woods, which is near Kissimmee. Runs through the west part of Orlando, and then it continues going up. The 408, we said, comes east-west, literally through the heart of Orlando. And then they tried to make a loop with the 417. Let me see if I can find that here. 417, these are all toll roads, other than I-4. You got I-75, east-west, right? I-95, those are interstates. I-4 is an interstate. Everything else I'm talking about is a toll road. The 417 cuts through Celebration, and then it runs through Hunters Creek. It crosses over the turnpike. So if you're trying to map things out, there's two toll roads that intersect. Then the 417 goes all the way around through Lake Nona, and then it starts going north through East Orlando. Continues to go north. There's Oviedo. And you can kind of see it circling around. Let me come down. Goes to Sanford, and then it dead ends right into the I-4. So it doesn't make a circle, but here's the other part of the circle, if you want to call it that. It's supposed to be like a bypass. So if you dead end into I-4 and you go a little bit upward on I-4, then you can connect to 429. So 429 is kind of the other part of this bypass-ish toll road. So it comes through. Sorrento is north of Apopka, so it comes around there. It goes through Apopka, comes down into Winter Garden, which I said was a hotbed earlier. Nice area. Horizon West, Four Corners, and then again it ends right at I-4. So here's I-4, and then if you were to hop on I-4 and head east, then you would run into the 417. So that's your quasi loop around the Orlando greater area. So if you're thinking about moving to Central Florida, this is just kind of an overview on a map to give you an idea of where areas are. If you're looking on Zillow, on Realtor.com, if you're working with a realtor and you're talking with them about different areas, you want to kind of get a feel for where they are in proximity to the bullseye. And then you want to figure out what are your main arteries for traffic to get around. There's a few other ones. Oh, here's one that I missed, 528. 528 runs through Lake Nona, and it runs right all the way down to the Cocoa Beach area into 95. So, and it also goes through the airport. Let me show you where the airport is at. Almost done here with this video. I just want to do an overview with this, and then we'll dig in future videos. Airport is located right here. So where's our bullseye? Orlando, where are you? So here's downtown Orlando, and the airport is right here. So ways to get to the airport using toll roads. 528, which runs from I-4, goes right into the Orlando airport, and then it goes outward, East Orlando. 417, all the way from Celebration. You could hop on this right all the way through Hunters Creek. Meadowwoods, which is BVL's around here too. Lake Nona, again, is right here. And you just ride it up. You would hop off here and then take it into the airport. I think that is it Boggy Creek? Oh, it's 436. Boggy Creek's around here. 436 is a state road, runs right through the airport, north and south. And that's pretty much it. Those are the main roads, not including state roads. So I hope this gives you an idea. Let me know in the comments below other content you'd like to see, educational like this for the area of Central Florida. And if you got something out of this, feel free to hit like, subscribe, bell notification icon to be notified of new content coming in the future.